welcome everyone, and it has been a very exciting day. You heard a lot of exciting keynotes, and I hope you learned a lot. So let's shake things up a little bit, do something different, and let's have an interesting discussion, because two very interesting people are joining me. One is one of the most prominent figures in Sri Lankan gaming industry, ManiYa, and a game developer. So now, just to kickstart everything, so ManiYa, like I said, a very prominent figure in Sri Lankan gaming industry, and even before gaming, you have been in social media like a decade, right? So what I'm curious is, how did you start and why mostly?
Yeah, I think he gave me the introduction. First of all, if you all don't know me, I'm Manitha Abeysiriwardana, popularly known as ManiYa. So actually, I have been a gaming fan since I was a kid. I used to have a computer. I have two elder brothers, so they would play and I would watch. And sometimes they would remove the control. They would just give me a controller to watch them play and make me part of the gameplays. So I have been passionate about gaming since I was a kid, and I wanted to do gaming content. But as a start, I started doing blogs back in 2017. That was right after my A-levels. So that was mainly done for me to improve my English speaking abilities, and I had this nervousness when I'm speaking to people. So I wanted to improve that one mainly. So that's how I started content, and then one thing led to another. I started blogs and then gaming content, and then meme reviews, you might have seen Kapila Undagapucha. And 5 years back, that was back in 2021, I made another channel to do live game streams called ManiYa Streams. And I was back into the gaming aspect of my life. For the past 5 years, I have been doing game streams as a full-time job. So it was my hobby turned into a full-time career. And last year, I started entering into my businessman phase. So I guess the passion has been kept me going, and I love what I do, so yeah.
Yeah, it definitely has been a great journey. Well, gaming is awesome, but we still love Kapil as well.
Hopefully, in the future, he might come back. We'll see.
Yeah, we are waiting for it. So, what a great journey. Now, Achila, starting a game studio is not an easy thing. It's like, especially in an industry still developing, it like Steve Jobs says, you have to be crazy to do something like that. So, again, why did you start and why? How?
Well, to be honest, like when I was graduating from SLIIT, it was, I looked around and kind of gauged like what options do I have in terms of working in the games industry. And then I spoke with a couple of my like-minded friends, and we kind of decided, it seems like the industry in Sri Lanka right now is starting out and everyone's experimenting. And why don't we just try to make something of our own and try to enter the industry that way? And even if we didn't make like $1 million out of our products, we could still show the world like we have the experience to make games, and maybe eventually someone might even like hire us, right? So that's how we started the journey. Like the plan was just to make games to impress people enough. Maybe we get hired, maybe it makes money. Whatever way it goes, it felt like the most like fairest shot. So that's why we decided to form Iron Blood Games, and we've been grinding away ever since, to be honest. Yeah, it's been a hell of a journey.
Yeah, great. Like Sri Lankan game development industry is very interesting, because like few years ago it was nothing. Now these exciting studios are coming up, and we saw some of the great indie games. So yeah. Now, influencers has been a huge part of gaming community, and so like most of these people are game developers. So I think they also want to know, what do you think is the relationship between a streamer and a developer should be ideally?
I think they have to work together, and when it comes to marketing, there's a lot of avenues and channels for game developers and publishers to market their game. But influencer marketing is one of the most effective and probably one of the cheapest ways as well to target direct at gamers. So what sort of an aspect are you actually looking forward from that question?
So like when it comes to indie game development, especially like new gamers are creating games, but they don't have a platform, right? I think the biggest platform they have is their fellow creators. So what do you think that relationship would be ideal if they start a relationship like that? And if they want to start a relationship like that, what they should do?
I think this place itself, the event itself is a very good starting point, because I actually didn't know there were this much of game developers in Sri Lanka. So I met a few developers and got to know that what they're building, and it's pretty interesting. I even talked to you yesterday.
Yes.
And I was very impressed by the game.
Thank you so
and
much.
I'm looking forward to play that. So it's events like this where people have to come together, game developers, and I hope there will be more content creators in the next events as well, to connect and make game development much more prominent. So, like I said, streamers and content creators can definitely take it to a much broader audience, and I believe that game developers know how to build games, but the content creators and the streamers are the ones who know to approach their audiences and take it to the audiences. Because even if we are playing a game, we are the ones who make the clips about the games and make it appealing to the audience. Maybe sometimes the audience doesn't even know that this sort of a game is there in the market. So we are like the bridge that makes the gap between the developers and the gamers. So we definitely, as myself a content creator and streamer, I would definitely love to help the gaming scene in Sri Lanka. It's starting out, and it has been starting since for a few years now. It has been shaping, blooming. So it's lovely to see everyone, and I hope this event also keeps going, and there will be a lot bigger crowd in the future events.
Yeah, exactly. And I have the same question for you as well, Achila, because you have the perspective of a game developer. So what do you think the relationship should be between a content creator or a streamer and a game developer?
I mean, yeah, it's really important to get a partnership going with communication between both your influencers and streamers to get the word out on your games, because ultimately your game lives and dies by the marketing that you put behind it, and one of the strongest way you can market it straight to other gamers who might want to buy your games is through individuals like ManiYa and so on. So it's really important to start your dialogues as early as possible when you have cool games, enter their spaces, speak with them, and see how you could perhaps partner up, or in whatever way, just have a very solid plan to incorporate them into your strategies to get your game out there in front of people, as many as possible. Some people have the fault about, like, they're very nervous about, because it's in our kind of blood. We're kind of like hermits, game developers. We just sit inside our rooms, we make our games, and we kind of silently march them out into some platform, and then it just dies. And you just think your game was just terrible. It's not terrible, it's just that people didn't know it existed. And one of the best avenues you have to kind of make it visible is through individuals like ManiYa and other content creators. So you need to pick up, like, maybe an email, shoot them out, and start networking, and just get the communication going between you two and figure out how you could get your game in front of their audiences. I'm telling you, it'll do a huge, huge boost to your game's like visibility in the market. That's what I got to say.
Yeah.
And viewers usually trust the streamers as well. So the entertainment aspect and the gameplay aspect is coming out of naturally through the streamers and the content creators. I think, like I said, working with influencers is much more effective rather than doing a direct ad, like a social media ad. So yes, I agree with what you were saying.
Yeah, so speaking about streamers, like, when a streamer plays a game, there are these viral clips, right? Either it's a jump scare or something funny or something interesting. I know.
He just made me go through a jump scare on his own game yesterday.
Oh,
so
yeah. We have it on camera, so it's
upload it then.
yes. So yeah, these kind of clips, right? Now, Achila, as a game developer, do you think these kind of clips that are coming out, does it affect the game development process?
I wouldn't say it like, it's not that it affects it, it kind of influences it, right? Like, you need to make sure your game has some aspect of it that evokes like a strong reaction from your audience. And these are what we currently call them viral moments. But technically, this has existed ever since like games became a popular medium of entertainment. There was always some, like the successful games, that's what I'm talking about here. The most successful games has always evoked some strong reaction from individuals to start going and talking about it and kind of sharing that experience. This is now being referred to in modern like day and age as viral moments, right? So you need to make sure that your games always has something that evokes a strong reaction from your player base, and that can actually naturally allow creators like ManiYa and so on and so forth to create entertaining pieces of content out of your game, which will eventually just mean that you get much more visibility of your game to an audience, right? You're showing the fun. And you need to make it very easy for people like ManiYa to find that fun, right? The more entertaining it is for an audience, the more likely they'll come to your store page, hit a wish list, or even buy it. So I would say it is really important to have these like viral moments. But what I generally mean is that it needn't be like viral like what you see in like a TikTok thing. It just needs to evoke a really strong response out of the audience. If you're making a horror game, you need to make people jump out of their seats and be scared, right? They need to be tense, they need to be anxious, and it needs to come through. And if you're getting that kind of emotions out, maybe you're playing like some kind of goofy, entertaining game, it needs to have a lot of moments of slapstick comedy kind of moments that makes everyone laugh and gasp at like what just happened. And that's how you know your game is doing its purpose, it's achieving its goal. So yeah, 100%. You need to make sure you have a viral moment in your game, or viral moments.
Yeah, exactly. And when you're talking about this, you mentioned something very specific, and ManiYa, you did too. Emotional connection between the game and the player. Right. I personally think a gamer always plays the games that we have a connection with, that he has emotional something with. So what is it actually? What does developers should think about how to make this connection? What do you expect as a gamer?
You are talking about the emotional aspect, right?
Yes.
So I think it mainly depends on what sort of a story is built up on the player. It doesn't have to be specific to the game. I mean, it's not about the game story. It can be the game story as well, but if let's consider a multiplayer game. So when it's a multiplayer game, how many of you all have played Among Us? I think just put your hands up. Almost everyone has played Among Us, and probably everyone played that during the lockdown back in 2020. And I think you all can still recall the fun times you all had with your friends. So that's the story itself. I mean, there was no story within the game, but it's a story within the friends who played it. So that's the multiplayer aspect. There's a lot of multiplayer games in the industry, and even I stream with my friends, and my audience also always expects me to play with my friends. those type of games. So we usually play the game called We Gotta Go. It's basically they want to poop, right? So they are loaded up, and they have to run around, and when they are running, they will release gases. And it was a very fun game to play with friends, and I'm sure in another couple of years we will be talking about that. So when it comes to the multiplayer aspect, that's sort of a story we can rely on. And another side is, if we consider single player story mode games, for that also I believe it is the story. I can give a good example. I have played very emotional games. I have played The Last of Us. It was a very emotional game. I have played both of the Last of Us games. And then Life is Strange. That was also another emotional game. But one game which captured me was a game called Before Your Eyes. Has anyone seen that or played that? Awesome. So I'm not going to spoil the game, but it's a game about a kid, right? He's going through his life, and we are seeing his life through his eyes. We are seeing in his point of view. So there's a very cool mechanic within the game. Our webcam captures our eyes, and each time we blink our eyes, we will be fast forwarding in the life. Like, I'm a kid now, and if I blink my eyes in my real life, the camera will capture it, and I will go to his teenage years, and then I will go to his grown-up years. So that's a very cool mechanic. And this game also, I think it was an indie game. Was it an indie game? It was, yeah. So it had very simple graphics, not much of a gameplay, no movements. You just have to go through the story. And the graphics, in the sense, it was also very aesthetically pleasing, simple graphics. Not much effort has to be put into, I think, like, people do think that sometimes it has to be a AAA game, right? AAA games are the ones they should be done. But what I'm pointing out here is that even that simple game brought me to tears. I actually cried at the end of the game, and that was the first time I cried playing a game. And I quickly ended the stream, and trust me, I cried for like 15 minutes straight. So I can still recall the game, and that was very emotional to me, and that's what made the game for me. It doesn't have to be a big budget. It doesn't have to be a big AAA game. It just has to be relevant and remarkable in its own sense, which gets into the player's emotional aspect. So that's another story. And for the multiplayer aspect, I said another story. So basically, it's the story.
Yeah, definitely. Also, another thing that I noticed when telling about this was indie games, right? Like, we saw some indie games, those were very creative. I think that is because I think Achila would also agree, like, when you're making an indie game, you are trying to be creative, right? Because you have to compete with this huge market. So indie gamers are trying to be very creative, and I think that makes very exciting games, like you said, ManiYa.
Yeah, so my friend, he's my friend, and he's also a software engineer. And so we were talking, like, the Chunpan idea was like, it's a perfect idea. Yeah. Like, no one has done a game with Chunpan. I wish I was able to see a gameplay of that. But yeah, please develop that game, and I would love to play it.
Awesome. Yeah. Now, speaking about this Sri Lankan game development industry, like, there has been like, again, we are still developing industry, so everyone has their opinion about what we should do. And there has been a buzzing about how we should market our games. Should we market to local audience, or should we not? Some people say we should, some people say we should not. So I want to ask both of you, ManiYa as a representative of the gaming community, and Achila, you as a representative of the game development community, should gamers market Lankan audience or the international audience, or why they should?
All right, so I will go first. I mean, I would definitely, as a Sri Lankan, would love to see Sri Lankan games being made for us. But let's be real, the market is small, right? Actually, I think you can agree. So games are being made as a source of income. So they have to make money. They put their time and effort and they have to make money. So I think the Sri Lankan market is still small, but the developers doesn't have to limit themselves to the Sri Lankan market either. I mean, if we consider Japanese games, they stick to their own type of lore, but they still market themselves to the international scene. So I think even the game you all were developing, it's even though there were Sri Lankan aspects, I believe that there's a lot of Sri Lankan aspects that can be carried on to the international stage. So I think that should be done. Use the Sri Lankan elements within the games and take it to the international level and deliver that to the local audience as well as the international audience. And that way, both will be happy. You all can make the money and there will be Sri Lankanized versions as well.
Yeah, exactly my point I would like to also say. Like, the Sri Lankan market is very small right now. We have like a growing audience, of course, but you should consider the Sri Lankan audience as gamers, just like there are gamers all over the world, right? Whatever game you make, you should make sure it is just enjoyable as a vast majority of that global and local game audience as possible. So of course you can draw a lot from our rich culture and try to share it with the world, for sure, but make it as accessible as possible to the global audience. Even when like Japanese, for example, games are being made, they make sure that Western audiences can kind of enjoy it as much as possible. They even change like names, even the title of the game, just so that people could just understand or make the title of the game as memorable as possible or easy to remember as possible. And that makes sure that your game is a viable product out there. So I would say for sure, like, if you are creating a game, feel free to draw inspiration from local sources if that helps you make a great title. But always keep in mind, like, it is the best in your interest to make sure it is also as understandable and as accessible by the global audience as much as possible. So I would say, you know, if you're gonna have like your main character be called like Tikiri Manike or something like that, right? Make sure like, okay, Steam has a local, like localization even for the store pages. Then make sure the Sri Lankan audiences sees the Sri Lankan like version of it, and make sure the Western or the global audience, maybe she can just be called Tikiri, just Tikiri, or something like that. You know, just make sure it's as accessible as possible. So that's what I got to say about that.
Yes. Now, I asked the questions I wanted to ask. So, does the audience has any questions to ask from ManiYa and Achila about gaming or game development?
I am an open book. Please ask me anything.
Okay, I have a question from Achila. Shall I? Okay, what do you think about the usage of AI in gaming? Like, is it like, do you see any good in that, or?
The thing is, if it depends on how you use it, right? Like, it is an upcoming technology, and there are many positive uses of it, of course. But there's also many like negative uses of it, which is going to incredibly like increase the number of slop games that are going to end up in the marketplace, and it's going to even make visibility a harder challenge in the future. But I would delve in to say, like, if you're using AI to help you draw inspiration or put together an idea quickly, and then that helps you kind of validate your idea, and then you move on to fine-tuning it with your own skill set, where you figure out, okay, what should my characters look like? What might my weapons look like? But if you're going to just especially use AI like from top to bottom within your game, you could end up right now with sending out a product that is less than well received in the market, right? There are like many ways for you to use AI to kind of help and streamline your development process. By all means, do that, right? That's what I got to say in it. And especially when you're using artwork, be very careful, because people are very sensitive to AI art. They can spot it from a mile away. And if you're leaning on it a lot, it can negatively impact the user's kind of view of you. And it could get as worse as you might have to kind of disappear for a while, change your studio names, and try to come back and do better next time. So, yeah, that's...
Yeah, I agree. Thank you, bro.
Also, I would like to add something to that. Like, what I always think is AI is one of the greatest search engines. It's a really good learning source, because
People want me to do it. AI observing us? That was a real jump scare. And?
sorry about that, guys. Yeah, so I was saying, AI is a great learning tool and a search engine, because, like, especially for our new developers, learning should be really easy with AI. You don't have to so like I was saying, especially with learning, for the past few years with the internet, learning has been really fast. You don't need a degree to learn gaming, right? But you can just Google search it, YouTube search it. But also with AI, it's now really convenient to learn game development, because you have all these tools that you can learn, ask questions about.
It's all put together.
Yes, exactly.
At the same place. I mean, even if it's a video, it's given to you. Go and watch this video. Yes, I agree.
Does audience have any question? Come on, guys. Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, so my question is for both of you guys, through your guys' perspectives. For an indie game, when an indie developer is trying to create a game, should they focus on what's trending? Because it's not like they can create games just for fun, because even for most developers, it's gonna be something that they are gonna focus in a financial matter as well. So should they focus on something that creates something trending, or something creative, that's something that they want? And the other question for the streaming side is, what would you think when when a game developer creates something that's creative, but it's not trending, or it's not in the criteria that you would stream? So would you try to still stream something like that, or would it affect how you see to like market games like those that doesn't like necessarily go through the way you guys stream, or like the topics, or like whatever? If it's not a trending topic, how would you still try to like help those developers as well? Thank you.
Yeah, so I'll start answering from my side when it comes to the developers, right? If you're an indie game developer and you're setting out to make a title, it's always good to do your due diligence and kind of see what is trending right now, and make it kind of easy on yourself, because to be honest, like there's a lot of games that are coming out, even if it's, I mean, if you're trying to make games for mobile, you got a tough time there to begin with, because there is a lot of titles all the time releasing on mobile. But even when it comes to your PC games, you need to you should do some research on what kind of genres are trending right now, what kind of ideas are doing well, because it'll help you come up with ideas that will have the highest chance of doing well once you release it. But I'd go a little bit further than that and say, like once you get into this field and you start making a few titles, you'll realize just finding what is trending right now might be too late by the time you're releasing your own title. So at that point, you will slowly start to learn when you use like resources like SteamDB and so on and so forth. You'll start to spot things that are starting to trend. And that's when you'll really start like making titles that will just catch that train. And just as you're releasing that, that kind of genre might be trending much better, and you'll stand to make more sales. Because ultimately, to be honest guys, like if you're getting into indie game development, you need to be getting in with the idea of, I need to be selling an X number of games or number of titles so that I make enough money to go make another title and keep that cycle going and growing so that you can make bigger and better games down the line. So always do some research and figure out what can sell and try to make it within that. Of course, what's selling right now might be all the time shooters, right? FPS games are all the time selling. Obviously, if you're going to go and put in another shooter game, you're going to drown out and kind of be invisible, right, in the market. But you got to be smart about it and see what other types of titles are trending right now. Cozy games, horror games, right? And try to bring a little bit of something new, a little bit of new sauce with your title, and that'll give it the best chance of making some money in return. I'll leave to ManiYa about this.
Yeah, was your question specifically about the genres, or was it about viral moments, like trending topics?
Is trying to follow. Yeah, thank you. So like what their community is trying to follow, like just because you play games, you might not play a specific genre as you are questioning, or like the whole taste, because you need to control and keep the community alive, like your own community.
Yes.
So I wanted to know like how it affects, like if you want to try to play a game or like give a chance for the indie community, like indie devs, give their game a chance. How would you think it affects with your community, like the impact, and how would you try to like manage that?
Got it. So for that topic, I think earlier, for the previous question, Achila gave a very good answer. For this question specifically, I agree, like I have a specific audience who love to watch this type of content. So I have to deliver what they love as well to maintain that audience. So usually, personally, I love to play horror games as well as first-person shooters, those sort of games. But I also love to play RTS games, real-time strategy games, like Age of Empires, there's Rise of Nations, I love that game. So the viewers actually fluctuate when I play something which they don't like. Now, even though I love to play Rise of Nations, my viewers sometimes, a massive lot of the viewers won't like to watch that. So there's a certain crowd who love to watch it still, even though I play it late at nights. So when it comes to the local gaming scene, the local indie developers, I would definitely love to help any sort of game that is. So I think few months back, I did a stream where I played a few demos from Sri Lankan indie developers, and there was a various type of games in that lot, and the viewers were excited to see what our talent is about as well. So I would definitely help out, even though it is not my cup of tea. I would still play and help out our local gamers, game developers. Yeah. I hope that answers the question. So, all right.
Also, additionally, I would add, like, don't be afraid to just take the criticisms that creators give to your game. They are valuable feedback. So, of course, like, it's like gauging whether your game is doing good or not, right? It'll also, video games are updatable. You can fix things. You can make your experience better. So don't take it too hard if someone like criticizes it harsh in front of an audience. Just take it in your stride, fix it, and get better. Don't be afraid of it.
I think a good example for that would be, what was this space exploration game?
No Man's Sky.
No Man's Sky. So that was released back in 2016 and it received a very harsh criticism, right? It was a half-baked game, and but they managed to be one of the best games in another couple of years.
Yeah, I think it's one of the most biggest comeback games that we've ever seen in our industry. That's what they say anyway.
Yep, yep.
Yeah. Do you have any questions?
Kind of talking about the audience that we market to, right? When we make games, we figure out what market we want to get into. So in our genre, we target a lot of the East Asian audience, right? So just wondering, what kind of overlap do we see with the Sri Lankan audience with the global audience? What kind of games are they into, and well, what kind of content tends to work with them?
Probably you have a deep insight in that because you interact with a lot of gamers, right?
Yeah, what genre did you mention, bro?
Sorry. So our studio, we are in visual novels. So our genre is very East Asian market oriented, right? Okay. So the Japanese, Chinese, and Korean markets seem to be really interested, but we've also been getting quite a bit of traction from the Western market. Mm-hmm. So mostly from the States. I think half our audience is from the US. But when it comes to us designing our games and designing scenarios for our visual novels, what do you call it? Certain themes, certain elements seem to attract audiences more. So we noticed that with a game that we released a while ago, it was this murder mystery type, not murder mystery, but it was this mystery supernatural type thing, which worked really well with the East Asian audience. Then there's another one, which was a more space sci-fi themed one, which worked really well with the Western audience. Similarly, what kind of themes and genres kind of align, would you think Sri Lankan audiences prefer the most, and how do we fare against the global audience?
Okay. I think most Sri Lankans would love first-person games, and that includes shooter games as well as thriller horror type of games. And the genre you mentioned, I think, is a very niche audience. Even in Sri Lanka, I don't think there's much. There's a very little, yeah? So when it comes to the Sri Lankan audiences, as what I know is first-person shooters, and there will be third-person shooters as well. But it's mostly shooters and horror elemental games. That's what I think most Sri Lankans would love.
And what I can add to that is that if you're developing a game that you feel has a very niche audience, especially maybe in Sri Lanka or so, you should just count your Sri Lankan audience as part of that whole global audience pool, right? And just make the best game for that pool as possible. You don't need to particularly try to cater to the Sri Lankan audience in such a scenario.
Yeah. Hope that answers.
Any more questions? No? Yeah, I guess this is it. So, just to wrap up everything, one last question. Most of the audience we have today is either a gamer or a game developer. So, you guys are both. So, if someone wants to follow your path, if someone wants to follow your career, what is the best advice you can give them?
Don't do it. It's a tough life out here, kids. But I would say it this way, right? If you're looking for a stable job, I think it was even mentioned earlier at the folks at RAM Studios who said, if you're coming here for great benefits, dental, a good salary and stuff, You better look for a job somewhere in the tech industry that gives you that stable income, right? Games development right now, and I think for the foreseeable future, because of the huge disruption that's happening with the AI and all that, and the fact that AAA studios have been dropping employees like flies, indie is the way to go if you're going to make games, right? Think of it as an art, a form of expressing yourself and putting something out there as a product that can sell directly to the audience. And that's the best part about making games, is that you don't need to work in a company and get like a monthly salary to make money out of it. You can go straight to the audience and make something and sell it, right? So look at it like you were a person making pottery, right? You can make your pottery and sell it directly to people. So I'd say find a stable job and work on it like a passion project, put the game out, maybe it makes some money, and eventually the game starts making enough money that it becomes your full-time thing. But I wouldn't recommend just going straight out of the gate and saying, yeah, I'm going to work as an employee in the games development industry. That ain't happening soon. Let's just put it that way, right?
Yeah, I think it's the same thing, but in so what I do, I'm a streamer, right? I do live game streaming, and I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. It's not easy. It's really hard to get to a point where you can make money playing games. So it's not just me playing games, but I had to build a brand around it, and there's a whole lot of other avenues which was involved into this, like being a content creator and reaching out to brands and the marketing aspect. So there's a lot. It's not easy, but the Sri Lankan audience is also still very small, and it's really hard to make money if you want to focus just on Sri Lanka. But if it's the one thing you love to do, I suggest you to start it out as a hobby, just like Achila said. And that's how I started it as well. I did it as a hobby, and then I got to a point where I could make full-time money out of it. And then I switched to doing it full-time. So that's the same route I would suggest you to do if you are passionate about gaming and streaming. Just do it as a hobby and try to find sponsors. If that works out, I would still suggest you to keep doing it as a part-time job rather than a full-time job, because it's not permanent. Even for me, I don't think it would be permanent. That's why I'm looking into other avenues right now. I'm expanding into businesses. I have my own clothing brand that's the outside called Geek Drip. So I have another marketing agency. I'm looking into other aspects. So yeah, I suggest you to do that. And if you're considering about the gaming industry, it's kind of booming. Like, let's take 10 years back, it would be taboo to talk about, do gaming as a job. But it's much better now. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like we're saying, don't do it, but do it, but don't do it, but what we're trying to say is just set your expectations, folks. Like, what you're getting into is a very creative field. It's very competitive out there, and you need to just be in it on the long haul to make a good enough title eventually that will make you a whole bunch of money, right? But it's like, do you have the strength and will to stick through it all the way to the point that you make the breakthrough that you need to be successful within this field? It's just a stuff, yeah.
Exactly. And yeah, that's it, guys. I hope you learned something, because I definitely did. And what interesting conversation. Thank you so much, ManiYa.
Thank you, and thank you as well. And I hope many more publishers and investors come into this industry, and I love the presence, and I hope it grows. And I would like to thank the team at Levelstair as well. Let's give a huge round of applause for them. This was the first game, right? So let's hope this happens yearly. Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys.